Does the gentleman yield for a
Yes,
couple of questions?
the gentleman yields.
Thank you, Representative Spiller.
Sure.
So Texas students already have an absolute right to individually, voluntarily, and silently pray or meditate in school. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And now your bill is allowing a teacher or school official to encourage students to engage in prayer in school. Is that correct?
It doesn't prohibit it.
So it allows a teacher or school official to encourage a student to pray in school.
Well, I don't know that this bill allows it, but this bill as written would not prohibit it.
Mr. Speaker, I can't hear.
Mr. Tallarico, for what purpose?
I can't hear Representative Spiller.
Members, please take your conversations outside the rail.
Representative Spiller, could you just repeat your answer? I could not hear what you were saying.
I said that this bill doesn't prohibit that.
Okay. And
I don't know. I haven't researched everything under the law to see if there would be any other restrictions to that effect. And I don't know with all the school districts that we have in Texas if there's any policy in a policy manual that would otherwise prohibit that. I would have no idea. So to answer your question, but this bill does not prohibit that.
And under Section 2, a teacher can now discourage a student from prayer. Is that correct?
That, I mean, again, this bill doesn't either, if passed, does not either encourage or discourage. It doesn't prohibit either.
It doesn't prohibit either. So meaning you are allowing a teacher or school official to encourage or discourage prayer if they choose to do that.
That is certainly a possible result, absent some other prohibition under the law that would state otherwise, to which I've already said I don't
Right.
know.
As you know, public school students are forced to attend school by law. They are compelled to be in the classroom. So now if your bill passes while in the classroom, a teacher could encourage students to pray, for instance, by telling them they will go to hell if they don't pray according to that particular teacher's religious beliefs. That could happen if we change this law.
I would subject to you that probably shouldn't happen. A lot of things could happen, but that probably shouldn't happen because I would assume that would probably be in violation of the school's existing policy. And there's a policy manual, as you well know, that's about yay thick, or it used to be until it was all electronically done, that covers many of those aspects of what a teacher or school employee is allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, either under contract or
But
otherwise.
Representative Spiller, you just told me you don't know if those exist, so I'm just focusing on what law you're changing.
Right.
If we pass your bill, we are allowing school officials, government employees, to encourage or discourage students from praying. And if I'm reading this correctly, a teacher could tell their students to pray so they don't go to hell.
And I'm telling you that this bill doesn't address that, and there may be other prohibitions under the law that exist that are not the subject of this
Your bill
that
does
may
address
that.
Your bill allows that.
My bill doesn't allow that. It doesn't prohibit it. They're two different things.
How are those different?
Well, one, if it doesn't prohibit it, that's one thing. But to say it's allowed, I don't know, and I've told you already, I don't know about other restrictions under the law, under labor laws, under existing policies of each school district and each charter school. I don't know what their policies say, and so I couldn't say that my bill allows it because it may not.
So if there is some rule out there that prohibits it, it wouldn't be allowed. But if those don't exist, your bill does allow it.
I'm saying that my bill doesn't prohibit that, and what I'm saying is I have not done a complete exhaustive research of every statute in the state of Texas and every policy prohibition, and also under federal law, what's allowed and what's not allowed in the workplace. I haven't looked at that, is what I'm saying.
So you're changing this 30-year statute that prohibits teachers from encouraging or discouraging prayer, and you're not sure what the ramifications are going to be in 1,200 school districts across Texas?
Number one, the statute doesn't say discourage, it only says encourage.
No, sir, it says that you cannot encourage a student to engage or refrain from such prayer. So by removing the word encourage, you are allowing government employees to encourage students to refrain from prayer.
Well, existing laws under the statute that you're referring, and the statute that is under Section 2 of my bill, doesn't prohibit discouraging it. So that's not what that says. The word there is encourage. It's not encourage or discourage. It says encourage. That word is being taken out to be in compliance with existing federal law.
Encourage to refrain. So now a teacher or government employee can encourage a student to refrain from prayer in a public school.
I see what you're saying there, but yes.
Okay, that's a yes. So could an atheist teacher discourage students from praying because they believe God is not real?
You know, people can be motivated by any number of things. I can't say.
But right
why
now
they
that's
would do
prohibited
something.
under current law, but you're changing that law. So you are allowing an atheist teacher to discourage students from praying because they believe God is not real.
Well, that's all the more reason why we need to have this bill passed so that students.
Your bill is
and-
allowing
and
that. Why would we pass this bill?
Can do that and can pray about those situations.
We've had a law on the books for 30 years that prevents teachers from encouraging or discouraging students to pray. You're changing that. So if we pass this bill, an atheist teacher could discourage a student from praying because they think God's not real.
Well-
they can't do it now, but they could do it if we pass this law.
That's not the way I read it, but I understand the point.
I
you're trying
don't know
to
there's
make,
any
but
other way
that's
to
not
read
the
it.
way I read it.
Is it true that under your law, a practicing Muslim teacher could encourage their students to engage in the afternoon prayer around 1 p.m. or 6th period in a middle school or a high school?
Well, could they encourage that? Could they say that? Again, if that's not in violation of their current work policy, and we keep ignoring that, but that's still very important, what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. But again, my bill, when it talks about the time that we've set aside here under Section 1, the whole purpose of the bill is that it not be during the instructional time.
But,
so
sir, your
the time
section-
period that you're saying, I don't know whether that would be during the instructional time or not.
But Representative Spiller, respectfully, Section 2 applies to all school districts regardless of whether or not they adopt this period of prayer in the first part of your bill. These are two separate parts of your bill. The second section that we're talking about applies to all school districts the moment we pass this off the House floor, meaning a Muslim teacher could encourage their students to pray 5 times a day, including the afternoon prayer during 6th period.
And it applies beyond just the school district. If you read the statute, that it applies to everybody, a person.
That's
It
right.
doesn't say an employee, it applies to everyone.
So you're saying that could happen. A Muslim teacher could encourage their students to pray 5 times a day if this bill passes.
Again, I didn't say that because it's subject. Your question assumes a lot of things, and I can't make that assumption that that's not currently a violation of the policy to be taking time out during the school
Let me ask you this
instructional day
then.
to be doing those things.
As the bill author, can you guarantee that will not happen?
I can't guarantee much, and I sure can't guarantee that someone might attempt to do something. I can say that it may not be proper, and it may be a violation of their contract if a teacher.
not under
Gentleman's
your
time
bill.
has expired. Chair recognizes Mr.
Again, motion table.
Chair recognizes Mr. Turner.